I'm so pleased to be able to join you on this webcast today. My name is Hank Rubin, and let me start right out by establishing my bona fides for being able to talk with you about public sector leadership today. I've been trying to understand public leadership since I was a kid. I tried practicing it in local, state, and federal levels as I've grown up. I've worked at it in nonprofits and K-12 education as well. I practiced it, even if I never got it perfect, in higher education too. I launched the National Institute for Collaborative Leadership back in 1992 to help others and myself learn how to get better at it. And in 2019, with the Frederick Douglass family, I helped to launch the Frederick Douglass Center for Collaborative Leadership here in Rochester, New York, in order to elevate the priority of anti-racism in the preparation and exercise of public sector leaders. I wrote a couple of books on it. One of them went on to become a bestseller. I got a PhD in it, and I continue to practice it and practice it and practice it as much as I can here, at home, and elsewhere in order to get better at it and to be able to help you learn it and get better at it yourselves. So, welcome to this conversation. Speed dating, as we're doing here today, on a deep issue like public leadership, has all sorts of complications. Technology is going to be just one of those limiting factors. So, in order to keep it from complicating our time together too much, I'm going to stay off screen for most of our time together. Even so, I'm hoping that we get to know each other a bit here, and that this gets you thinking and starts a bunch of conversations that we can have face-to-face and online during the months ahead. That'll be good, because when we talk together, we build relationships, we clarify our purposes, we stimulate leadership. So let's get to it. Lead for a change is much more than a catchy catchphrase. For one thing, it's the title of my next book. Why? Because that one phrase forces us to ask ourselves all the important questions about leadership. And here's how. It forces us to think about what we mean and what we don't mean when we say the word lead. After a few decades of doing this, I'm going to say something that's a bit tough and a bit controversial. Rochester, like many communities around the nation and around the world, is leaders rich, but leadership poor. Leaders rich, but leadership poor. What do I mean by that? We have many, many brilliant people in positions of nonprofit, civic, and government leadership, with titles and commissions, board positions and appointments. Brilliant people in positions of leadership who manage their organizations, who keep them afloat, who implement the rules, who are in the end excellent managers, but not leaders. We turn to managers the way we turn to mechanics, to keep the ship afloat, the engine running, the team on task. All of these tasks are important, but they do not by themselves add up to leadership. So what does add up to leadership? The phrase lead for a change drives us right to the heart of that question. What is the purpose of leadership? Why lead? Why do you want to lead? Why should we let you lead? Why should we follow your leadership? The answer we're looking for is we should follow your leadership because we both want the same change. And we feel that following you can help us achieve that change better than if we try to achieve it on our own, or better than if we would accomplish if we followed someone else. The purpose of leadership is change. Let me say that again. The purpose of leadership is change. So when we look around us and see that year after year, few of the changes we would like have occurred, we have to look first at whether or not our leaders are doing a good job. So, what do effective public leaders do? They develop and align relationships needed to achieve mutually desired change. They develop and align the relationships needed to achieve mutually desired change. The model I'm about to show you is one logical way leaders can do this. It is a theory of change. And now I know that's a phrase we hear often. So what does it really mean? A theory of change is a logic model describing the steps or activities individual and collective actors can undertake in order to achieve their desired outcomes. Got that? It's something for you and other leaders to think about, to challenge, to test, to struggle with, to try, and then to improve upon. It's something that should help each of us figure out how to be better leaders. If it works, then it's something each of us can use and teach our colleagues and rising fellow leaders. So here goes. Here's the logic model, our theory of change. And before running through it with you, let me say again that I'm happy to send this out to you. Just email your request to me or give me a call and I'll get it out to you right away. And you can find the model itself on the FDFI website and on the Institute for Collaborative Leadership's website with more detail on that site. Let's start by walking through the model's essential components. The red arrows on the bottom of the chart. You see those down there from left to right. We'll start on the far left with purpose. We begin with the larger purpose of the leadership position. This can generally be found in the organization's mission statement. Is it somehow to fight racism, to promote the arts, to heal children, something else? The essential question is, what do you want to accomplish? That's where we start. Then we move over to people, right next to that on its right. Since leadership happens through relationships with people, leaders need to pay attention to gathering and retaining the right people. Here's the question. Who are the people who can help you achieve your purpose? Who are the people who can help you achieve your purpose? Then we move right to the center to process, below that column. Process relates to how you organize and manage your relationships. How you organize and manage your relationships with those people. With a strategy up at the top of that column, a conscious effort to build the right relationships, real intentionality, and a system and infrastructure for holding those relationships together at the bottom of that column. Then we move one to the right, outcome, second from the right on the bottom. And by now you know what I'm going to say here, but I'll repeat myself anyways. This is both the simplest and the most often ignored element of leadership. What specifically is the change that you are trying to achieve? What is the specific change you are trying to achieve? You need to be clear, you need to be explicit, and you need to be measurable. And finally, we move to the last arrow on the right there on the bottom, sustainability. How do you make sure you're not a one-shot wonder, that your changes actually stick, that your recommendations don't just end up sitting on a shelf like so many have in the past? It is through authentic public accountability, taking your people and your outcomes back to your purpose to publicly assess whether or not the change is the right change and that it really has occurred. So, taken all together, this leadership change model is an organizing and teaching tool that can help regional leaders work together more effectively in our communities. The model helps goal-focused groups and individuals agree upon the focus on the steps needed to make change happen. So if we translate this into its narrative form, what this model says is, our goals are achieved when organizational leaders are intentional, relational, effectively collective, and accountable for measurable and sustainable change. Goals are achieved when organizational leaders are intentional, relational, effectively collective, and accountable for measurable and sustainable change. Lead for a change. It's more than a catchy catchphrase. It offers up a crisp and easy answer to the questions, why do you want to lead? Why should we let you lead? Why should we follow your leadership? It answers the question, what is the purpose of leadership? And it gives us the metric for appraising the value and effectiveness of your leadership. The metric is change. And the process is through intentional and sustained relationships with people. There you have it. The definition of public sector leadership is the strategic engagement of relationships with people aimed at accomplishing some shared change. Over the months ahead, we'll be pushing this model out for public discussion. I'd love to come and explore it with you and with your teams. My phone number and my email addresses are coming up on the last slide. Just give a call or email an invitation, and I promise I'll follow up with you quickly thereafter. I want to thank Becca for assembling this event, and I want to thank all of you for joining me in it. You know, none of us needs to be told that we are at a moment in the nation and here in Rochester that calls for us to be better leaders than we've been in the past, to be leaders that have a vision of change and know how to work towards achieving it. Email me and I'll send out to you the leadership change model that we just discussed. That way we can all work together in helping to make sure that we provide the kind of leadership that will transform our city and prospectively contribute to transforming our nation. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.